Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's webinar, our COVID conversation with the University of Miami. I'm just going to go over a few technical issues, and then I'll introduce our two speakers, and then we'll get the show started. So first things first, we do have a couple of handouts. If you click on the little X in the Go to Webinar control panel, actually there's only one handout in there. It'll open up and you should be able to download some information we put together on the admission statistics for the 12 state Florida universities. And there's also our summer test prep schedule and some information about our summer school. If you have audio problems at any time during the webinar, which happens from time to time, if you click on the audio, there will be an option to call in, so you can switch your audio to telephone and just call in. You'll still see the presentation, you'll just have to hear it on your cell phone, most likely. So here are our presenters. First up, we have Jay Jacobs. He is Director of Enrollment at University of Miami. He worked on various roles in enrollment management at UM for the past 4 years. He currently oversees the back-end operations for undergraduate admissions, graduate business admissions, financial aid, credit evaluations, and a centralized customer service center. He oversees a team of approximately 30 staff members and 40 student workers. He has extensive experience with a background in admissions from the College of New Jersey, Colgate, the University of Chicago, Booth School of Business, and UM. He has his bachelor's in economics from St. Lawrence, his master's in higher education from Drexel, and his doctorate from Northeastern University, which focused on access to selective institutions for low-income students. Also with us tonight is my mother, Judi Robinovitz, who's a certified educational planner with over 35 years of business. She's authored numerous books and articles on test prep and college planning. She wrote the original test prep software for the College Board and chapters in the original test prep books. She founded Score at the Top, which provides education in every area, from tutoring, test prep, or a fully accredited private school, and obviously we also provide private college guidance. We've actually achieved a perfect score on the SAT on multiple occasions. We will do, the way that the webinar is going to work tonight is I'm going to turn this over to Jay. He's going to give a presentation about UM and go over some of their statistics. If you have any questions during the presentation, just send them in over the GoToWebinar. If you see the little questions piece in the control panel, you should be able to type your questions to me. When Jay is done, my mother will come online and she will do some Q&A with him. And then when she's done, I will use questions that are submitted online and we'll see how many we can get through. And without further ado, I am going to turn it over to Jay. Here we go.
All right, can you guys see my screen? Yes?
Yes, we can see it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Well, thanks everybody. My name, and thanks Jason for the introduction. My name is Jay Jacobs, Director of Enrollment and Admission Operations at the University of Miami. I've been here for 4 years in various roles and always plugged into the admission world, as Jason mentioned, since I graduated from St. Lawrence, a private liberal arts college up in upstate New York. Tonight, I want to talk to you guys about the opportunity of Miami. We always ask prospective students 3 questions, and these are 3 questions that I hope to help answer how UM helps you answer these 3 questions. And these 3 questions are good for you guys to think about as you're wherever you are in the college process. If you're putting together a list of where you want to apply while you're putting your application together, or wherever you end up for your 4 years of undergraduate schooling. Hopefully that's at the U. If not, there's still good questions to think about. Those 3 questions are, what do I like? What am I good at? And what do I want to do with the rest of my life? What do I like? What am I good at? And what do I want to do with the rest of my life? So let's dive into UM. The University of Miami, we're a mid-sized private research university. Mid-sized, about 11,000 undergraduate students, but we do have 11 different schools and colleges, 9 for undergraduate students that you can see here. I always like to mention here that you will, as a student, you will never feel the boundaries between these 9 schools and colleges. You can study across school and college boundaries. You can double major in 2 different schools and colleges. You can major or minor in 2 different schools or colleges, or major and just take a couple of courses that interest you in different schools and colleges. So that, and this size, 11,000 undergraduate students in 9 different undergraduate schools and colleges is unique in and of itself. Most schools with 9 schools and colleges have, 30,000, 40,000 students. Most schools with 11,000 students have 5 or 6 different colleges. So this does a couple of really good things for us and our students. One is it really thins out the student body. It allows our classrooms to be small. This picture here is a pretty average classroom. Average class size at the University of Miami is in the low 20s. The second thing it really allows you to own your education and study the things that you like, that you're good at, and that you want to do the rest of your life. In fact, we kind of force that upon you. And, I'm sure a lot of admission officers who come and speak with you guys talk about distribution requirements, general education courses, core requirements, those kinds of things. We don't have that at the University of Miami. We have this Cognate program. The Cognate program is our version of those general education courses. And what it does is it forces you to explore the breadth of the curriculum, but gets you deeper into areas that you're interested in and gives you flexibility. So let me explain this briefly, because it's a main pillar of, oh, sorry guys, not right now. It's a main pillar of our undergraduate academic experience. So what is a cognate? So all students need to take 3 different cognates in 3 different areas of knowledge: arts and humanities, people and society, and STEM. And one of your cognates is automatically fulfilled by your major. So the other 2 cognates are the 6 courses that you need to take outside of your major in order to graduate from the University of Miami. You can take these 3 cognates over the course of your 4 years, so they're not all packed into your freshman year. You don't have to wait until your senior year to take those. It's over the course of your 4 years. And each cognate is 3 courses big that fit together thematically as determined by our faculty. So they fit together thematically, right? So you have the option and the flexibility to determine what those 3 courses are. If you go to this website, cognates.miami.edu, you can find our Cognate search engine, and you can start typing in, kind of like Amazon, start typing in keywords or words of interest to you, and it'll spit out the different courses that say fit that cognate. So let me color this in a little bit for you with real-time example. Let's say I'm a biomedical engineering major. My STEM cognate's automatically fulfilled by my major. So it's up to me to figure out how to fulfill my arts and humanities, my people and society cognates. Well, there's kind of 2 strategies students will take. One is to kind of loosely connect my second cognate with my major. So maybe as a biomedical engineering cognate, appropriately so during these times, maybe I'd choose to take a public health cognate to fulfill my people and society, right? Kind of in that same medical type of world, right? Well, for my arts and humanities cognate, maybe I get out of that world altogether and I take a dance cognate. I dance my butt off for 3 courses and leave the science and the medicine for my other 2 cognates. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, we can clear it up through the questions and answers later. Outside of the classroom, our students are still also answering those 3 questions. What do I like? What am I good at? And what do I want to do the rest of my life? We do that through a number of different programming. Here you can see students studying abroad. We offer over 80 different programs in 40 different countries all across the world. We offer all different flavors of study abroad, the traditional semesters abroad, a full year abroad, weeks here and there during summer or winter break. research, service trips abroad, et cetera, et cetera. Our most popular programs are what we call our U programs, where you actually study with faculty members and students abroad. So you're pretty much picking your campus experience up and bringing it to Rome or the Galapagos Islands or what have you. Of course, we have other programs outside of that. All the programs that have been pre-approved, you can ensure that your credits will transfer back to the University of Miami, so you're not adding any time to degree. And maybe more importantly, your financial aid would also follow you. So you're not spending any more money to study abroad than you would to study on campus in Coral Gables for a semester. I did mention at the onset of this, we are a R1 university or a Research 1 university. Our faculty members are required to perform research, but I should have also mentioned they are also all teaching courses. No TAs will teach your courses, but because we only have about 5,000 or 6,000 graduate students, a lot of those research opportunities will trickle down to the undergraduate student. We have an Office of Undergraduate Research who can help pair you with faculty members who are doing research in an area that you're interested in, or help you develop and run your own research project or research questions. Of course, there's over 300 different clubs and organizations that run the whole spectrum, from your more kind of social, wacky groups, right? We have a Quidditch team on campus. We have a chocolate lovers team on campus, or a club on campus. We have, dance groups and things like that, all the way down to the more academic focused honorary societies, finance club. You can see our UMTV group here, and a lot of students will find these clubs and organizations to the picture on the left through what we call our Canes Fest, which happens every semester. And it's more or less looks like a college fair like you guys are used to, but our clubs and organizations table show you what you're about. You can sign up for their listservs and things like that. And then everything in between, right? Cultural organizations, religious organizations, political organizations, service organizations, what have you. I mentioned service. We are very well connected to the city of Miami down here in South Florida, which many of you are familiar with. Some of you may be out of state or even out of our country. A very international city with a lot of different flavors and flair going on. But we really take the city of Miami and make sure we coincide with it nicely. A lot of our students will perform service through our Butler Center for Service and Leadership, which is an umbrella organization for over 40 different student community service organizations that run big events like on campus every fall. We have our Gandhi Day of Service, where our students bleed out throughout the Miami-Dade area and give back, pick up beaches, paint high schools, things like that. Every spring semester, we have what we call our Fun Day, where we put a carnival right on the quad, invite community members with mental disabilities on campus onto the campus, pair them up with our students, and they have an appropriately named Fun Day at the carnival. And then smaller organizations. My personal favorite is U-Pups. Our students are training service dogs around campus. Always fun to see our four-legged friends around campus. This is just kind of a nice map showing where we are. As you know, we are located down in South Florida, which our president calls the Crossroads of America, and we have a really hemispheric initiative. We want to be what our president calls the hemispheric university. He's signed agreements with 12 to 14 other institutions that allow scholars to participate in research, from McGill University in Montreal all the way down through South America and everywhere in between and in the Caribbean. We have a huge number of students, international students from the hemisphere on our campus on any given year. And then we also take full advantage of our location here in the city of Miami. You can see down here our main campus is the Coral Gables campus. That's where the vast majority of your classes would be held as an undergraduate student. We also have our Miller School of Medicine in downtown Miami. easy train ride to drop you right off at the steps right from campus. And we also have our Rosenstiel School of Marine and Atmospheric Science out on Virginia Key that is also a shuttle ride away from campus to do research, go scuba diving. There's even a private beach on that campus for students to use. And then students will partake in and socially, both through service and socially, all these other different areas in Miami, all these different neighborhoods. My personal favorite is Wynwood, our art district. Tons of students due to proximity, but also it's a really nice area right on the water, Coconut Grove, with a lot of fun bars and restaurants and things like that to do a stone's throw from campus. And then, of course, you know, that last and most daunting question is, what do I want to do with the rest of my life, right? Well, we won't let you kind of run free there. We have plenty of resources that will help you, especially in our Topple Center for Career Services. The Topple Center is our main career service center for all of our undergraduate students. They do typical career center stuff, right? Resume reviews, mock interviews, cover letter help, that kind of stuff. But they do much more than that. They bring employers right on campus. Every semester, they host over 1,000 interviews, both for internships and entry-level positions. And they're doing something right. I mean, our students go out into the real world, get jobs at over a 90% clip 6 months after graduation. And it's for those of you in South Florida know that the UM alumni network is something that you can lean on pretty strongly. As far as admission and financial aid, you can see here, this is the profile of the fall 2019 class, the class that just finished their first year on our campus. We did see over 40,000 applications this year. Our admit rate did go up a little bit, just over the 30% mark for the fall 2020 class. And that's because our incoming class actually grew. We plan on starting about somewhere between 23 and 2,400 students for the fall 2020 semester. But our average unweighted GPA and the middle 50% of test scores stayed right on the nose here. So what's it take to apply to the University of Miami? Well, we are a common application exclusive school. We only accept the common application, which includes aspects of your extracurricular activities and, of course, the personal essay. We do require official high school transcripts or any transcript of any institution that you went to, a school report from your college counselor, 2 letters of recommendation. One should come from your high school guidance officer, and one we recommend coming from an academic subject teacher. At this point, we are requiring SAT or ACT scores unless you're applying to our Frost School of Music or our School of Architecture, which do have test optional admission policies. But keep an eye on our website. I would imagine that our testing policy changes for the fall 2021 application cycle. And then for financial aid, we do offer both need-based and merit-based scholarships. Let me start actually at the bottom with our merit scholarships. All of our applicants are automatically considered for merit scholarships. There's no additional application, no supplemental essays. The application that you submit for admission will also be reviewed for merit scholarships. This year, we awarded anywhere from $10,000 to $23,000 per year. I would imagine that stays right around the same next year as well. But we also offer financial aid, need-based financial aid. You need to submit both the FAFSA, the free application for federal student aid, and the CSS profile. And if you do all of these things, if you apply in full and on time, you will get your merit scholarships and your financial aid award package on your portal and in mail with your admission offer. So I mentioned on time. We have 4 different ways to apply. We have a binding early decision 1 process. It is binding, meaning here you're handing me your application saying, here you go, Jay. If you accept me, I'm definitely coming to the University of Miami next year. It is a November 1 admission deadline, a December 1 financial aid deadline, and you would hear back from us in mid to late December before winter break. I do mention it is binding, so you should only consider applying early decision if you can answer two things. The University of Miami is 100% the place I want to be for my freshman year. And two, my decision to enroll at UM is not contingent upon merit scholarship or financial aid decisions, because you won't have that information at the time you're making that commitment to us. Another way to find out early but not have that commitment is through our early action. It's a November 1 deadline with a December 1 financial aid deadline, and you hear back in mid to late January. And then we have 2 January 1st admission deadlines with early decision 2, which is binding just like ED1. It's also a January 1 financial aid deadline. You hear back in mid-February. And then finally, the non-binding regular decision, January 1 admission and financial aid deadline, and you would hear back from us by April 1st. So that's kind of UM at a super high level. I know I flew through it, but I wanted to make sure we left enough time for questions and answers. That's always my favorite part of these presentations. So I'll let Jason take the screen over again, and we can do Q&A.
Wow, that was a mouthful, and what a fabulous presentation. Thank you so much, Jay. So we do have quite a few questions that came in since we announced the webinar. Okay. And you had mentioned that we should be watching Miami's website in case there are going to be changes in perhaps your testing policy. Right. So if there is this change and you do go test optional, I'm wondering, number one, would it still be advantageous for a student to submit a score that is either in or above your mid 50% range for admitted students? And beyond that, if the student does not submit a score, what would be different about the way you would evaluate that student's application?
Sure. So if the University of Miami goes test optional, and this is probably true for any test optional school that you apply to, I think that there's a couple of things to consider before you decide to submit a score. One is, does my score fit in those averages? I had that slide on there with the mid 50% range. I would say if you're at near the top end of that range or above that range, then it's probably advantageous to submit a score, especially if you're proud of that score and you feel like it's indicative of the work that you can do, right? I always, whenever I get this question, I always also plug leaning on your resources to help you make that decision, right? So talk to your college guidance officers at school, talk to your counselors here at SCORE at the top. They can help you make that decision to understand how to put your best self forward through your admission candidacy. What does it look like to us as an admission team reading files without a score? I think it's actually kind of refreshing, to be honest with you. It allows me to kind of dig in a little deeper into those more personal, I want to say softer, but that's not the right word, right? It's more qualitative versus quantitative materials, your letters of recommendation, your essay. If a school, not the University of Miami, but if a school offers an interview and you choose to take advantage of that opportunity, that's a good way to showcase your character, right? So, I mentioned we're looking to answer 3 questions. What do you like? What are you good at? What do you want to do the rest of your life? Well, the SAT or ACT score answers none of those questions, right? So I want to dig in and figure out who is this applicant whose materials I'm reading in front of me, and that will give me a really good chance to do that without a bias of a test score in my face.
Thank you. And have you heard any rumors at all about Bright Futures in terms of whether they may go test optional?
I have not. I don't know a whole lot about the Bright Futures program other than we accept it. And I do know, there's different levels based off of probably a combination of GPA and test score, but I don't know. Maybe my counterparts at the state universities might have a better answer than I do.
They didn't. Some of our viewers may not.
Your state representative then.
Some of our viewers may not be aware of, I think it used to be called the Florida Resident Access Grant, and I think it's changed its name to the EASE.
Yeah.
Perhaps you might share a little bit about them. That might also lower the cost of attending University of Miami for Florida residents.
Yeah, it does. So for Florida residents, we do accept the what used to be FRAG and what is now called EASE. And in fact, the University of Miami, just this year was our first year doing it. We meet 100% of demonstrated need for all Florida residents. If you go to any of our websites, any school or college's website, it's federally mandated that we have what we call a net price calculator on there. So if you go in there and you put accurate data in, it's going to spit out what we call an EFC, an estimated family contribution, which would tell you what the government and at a private school like the University of Miami says you can contribute towards our total cost of attendance. And for Florida residents, you can look at our total cost of attendance, subtract your EFC, and that would be your financial aid package in some combination of loans, grants, and work study program.
Okay. And when you mentioned before about the GPA, the mid 50% range, can you explain what GPA you use, if it's recalculated, if it's core, if it's weighted, how it's weighted?
Sure. So we recalculate all 40,000 transcripts that we get. We have a team of part-time workers who do that for us to an unweighted 4.0 GPA. And we only look at your core classes. So those 5 main core classes. Unless of course, you're taking an AP or an advanced level kind of, art history class, for example, or something like that. So it's pretty straightforward, to us, an A equals a 4.0, a B equals a 3.0, and downward. So we recalculate everybody. So we're looking at GPAs apples to apples.
Okay. So then does of course it's either AP, IB, ACE, or dual enrollment get that exactly the same bump?
It's the exact same unweighted GPA, and then so we look at the GPA and the level of the rigor of the curriculum separately. So we'll unweight your GPA and look at that, everybody apples to apples, and then we'll assess the level of curriculum. Are you taking the most demanding curriculum offered to you, a very demanding curriculum, etc. So those are 2 different data points in our review process.
And do you keep track of, or do you have a record of, I guess, like the average number of, let's say, advanced courses that your admitted students have?
Not an average number, because that differs so wildly from school to school of what's offered to students, right? So we do, the average admitted student is taking the most demanding level of curriculum that's offered to them.
Okay. And do you think that your yield this year may be higher for in-state students who are looking to stay closer to home because of the virus?
We think it may, and the data so far is proving to be the case. I mean, it's not astronomically higher than it was in prior years, but there's a couple of things at play here, right? For those of you who don't know the admission lingo of yield, that's the number of students who actually decide to enroll to the university. It's a percentage of the students who were admitted who decide to enroll to the University of Miami. So we have seen an uptick in the percentage of Florida residents who decide to enroll at the university compared to those who are admitted. But like I said, COVID-19 certainly plays into that. But this was also the first year that we're meeting full financial need for those students. So we're offering them better financial aid packages than we ever had before too.
Right. And have you seen a higher than normal request for students who'd like to defer for a year?
Yeah, no, we have not actually. And from speaking with colleagues across the country, it's the same thing. We've all experienced higher questions about deferred enrollment, but actual requests to defer their enrollment or take gap years has not gone up.
And can you tell us like what kind of planning Miami is starting to do now, contingency planning for perhaps a phased reopening, or if a decision has been made about summer, fall enrollment online, in person?
Yeah, so I was just, I was telling Judi and Jason this right before we opened up the room. Our President Frank, is uniquely qualified in this area. He came to us most recently as Dean of the Public Health School at Harvard, but before that, he was in public health in the Mexican national government. He's held numerous positions in the World Health Organization, and he's a global public health leader. He's put together a really thorough plan on what reopening looks like. It's a 4-pillar plan. It includes obviously social distancing. It does include the ability to test on a regular basis all 35,000 of our community members, students, faculty, and staff. He would prefer it to be weekly, but realistically it would probably be monthly. Temperatures being taken often, the ability to isolate when needed, et cetera, et cetera. Judi and Jason, I just emailed you the link. If you guys, our student newspaper just interviewed President Frank all about this. If you Google President Frank, the Miami hurricane, the most recent interview he did, I highly suggest the read. It's a very interesting approach. It's an aggressive approach, but he goes as far as to say in that article that if things continue the way they are continuing, or we're projecting through the summer, we will open as planned in the fall. A lot of what ifs there. We'll see.
Love it. Love it. And I'm assuming study abroad would probably be either eliminated or curtailed, or perhaps you might have programs in other parts of the United States.
Yeah, and President Frank mentions this in that article. He says that while no decision has been made for fall study abroad programs, it is likely they will be canceled. We do have some domestic study away kind of programs, which would likely still go on. Program in DC, a program in New York, and things like that.
And did you change your May 1 date to June, or did you keep it at May 1 for students having to let you know that they were making a commitment to Miami for next year?
We kept it at May 1, but we were pretty liberal in any extension requests we received.
Oh, that's great. Do you look, when you do an evaluation of a student's application, wondering if you look differently at an out-of-stater versus an in-stater, even though you're private, and then if you look any differently at an international student?
No, we don't look any differently really at any of them. I mean, the first and foremost question we'll ask of any applicant is, can they do the academic work at the University of Miami? And then the second question is, will they be a contributing community member? So we're, while we of course are cognizant of our geographic diversity of our student body, and we think that is a really unique factor to the culture at the University of Miami. You know, it's no easier to get in as an out-of-state student or an international student as it would be to be an in-state Florida resident.
And does legacy play any role in your admission decision?
We notice it. It doesn't make or break the bank by any means. In fact, the legacy admission rate is right on par with the non-legacy admission rate.
Great. And what would you say are Miami's like most unique majors? If I were going to say to one of my students, you know, listen, I love the idea of you're staying close to home. You have really great reasons for doing it. So we have, you know, a dozen or so universities in the area, but I really want you to go to Miami because I know there you can study blah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we have, you know, I mentioned we have 9 different schools and colleges, and you know, over 180 different majors. I would like to think that there are unique majors in each and every one of those. You know, the Rosensdale Marine School of Marine and Atmospheric Science is a pretty unique to the University of Miami. There's not many out there that have these kinds of hardcore marine science, atmospheric science, geology, meteorology type of undergraduate majors. Anything to do with kind of sustainability and environmental science, given our location in South Florida, is a really interesting way to study that. Frost School of Music is a renowned school of music with music technology, music business, of course, all of the performance majors and things like that. Our film programs in communications are really interesting. We're really well connected, and they have their own study abroad program in Los Angeles, where for the spring of your junior year, you go and you intern at the studios, and you're on site making films and things like that. You know, but so those are some of the unique ones. You know, the most popular ones are your typical liberal artsy majors, right, in the School of Business and in our College of Arts and Sciences.
Yeah. So Miami used to have I guess it was a 7-year BSMD program, which I know changed into more of a mentorship program. Correct. Wondering if there's any thought about going back to a, you know, combined BSMD where the students are applying out of high school.
There's not. There's no thoughts about going back to a direct entry 7-year program. Truth be told, the students who we were admitting into that 7-year program weren't faring well in the medical school. So decided to make it a mentorship program, and then a select few of those students in the mentorship program can gain an early assurance acceptance to our Miller School of Medicine as juniors on campus.
Okay. Let's see. Do you think that University of Miami will ever mimic perhaps what some of the state universities are doing, in the sense that the student can apply for admission for summer versus fall, and where it is marginally easier to get in the summer?
Maybe we have not had any conversations about that, but you know, COVID-19 has turned everything on its head, and we got to think creatively. So it is possible, if, you know, for some unknown reason we weren't able to host students on campus this fall, then maybe that's something we look at, but no plans for that as of now.
Okay, and I think I have one last question before I turn it over to Jason to get the ones that have just come in. And wondering if you anticipate, let's just say you don't go test optional, and we know that kids now have more limited opportunities to take an SAT or an ACT. Do you think that your average SAT, you know, the mid 50% range for SAT and ACT might be lower next year?
I don't know. I don't know about that. I mean, we have, I guess we would have to wait and see what the applicant pool looks like, and see what those test scores do end up looking like for students who either couldn't retake it or could only take it once, or had to take it really late. But between the, what is it, 157 of us, I don't think we have to worry about that at the University of Miami.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Jason, do you want to get on with the additional questions that have come in now for Jay?
Absolutely. But before I get to the questions, I meant to do this at the beginning of the webinar and I forgot. I just wanted to get a sense of who our audience was. So if we could take 30 seconds or so and do this poll real quick and just let us know who you are in the audience so we can, it'd be nice to have an idea of exactly who's listening in. I'm only going to keep it open for about 30 seconds. All right. Great. Well, it looks like a lot of my colleagues are on this call.
A lot of what, Jason?
A lot of our colleagues, it seems like from IECA, are on the call.
Gotcha.
Or on the webinar.
Gotcha.
Along with a lot of rising seniors.
Great.
All right, so I'm going to start from the beginning. I kind of marked some questions for you. We'll see how many we can get through at the time that we have. Is demonstrated interest a factor in the admissions decision?
We are very transparent where we only use demonstrated interest for those students who applied in early decision 1 or early action and were deferred in regular decision. So we will use demonstrated interest in the regular decision round for those students, or when we're pulling off of the wait list. Other than that, we won't factor it into our admission decisions.
And what GPA, SAT, ACT scores, and other factors are you looking for the merit scholarships?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very holistic approach. So, it's not just based, it's, not a typical grid for GPA or class rank and test scores. So it's the whole kit and caboodle. Of course, you have a better shot at merit scholarships if you're at or above our averages, which on that slide was about a 3.8 GPA, right around the 1400 SAT mark and right around the 31 ACT mark. But that does not guarantee you a merit scholarship, because we're also going to look at your essays, your extracurricular involvement, and your letters of recommendation when determining those.
Is the nursing school direct admit program?
Yeah, we have a direct entry BSN program in the School of Nursing and Health Sciences. We have enough room for about 57 nurses every year there, based off of clinical seats we have late sophomore year and junior year.
And can AP and AD courses count towards cognate classes?
Yes, they can count towards cognate classes. They will not count towards your majors requirements. If you go to miami.edu/AP or miami.edu/IB or miami.edu/ACE or whatever the acronym is for the test that you're looking for, it'll tell you exactly what score you need on which test and how that translates to the University of Miami.
And will you guys be taking giving credit for the at-home test this year?
We will be, yes.
How does the cognate system fit with a double major or double minor?
Yeah, a lot of our students will double major or multiple major, multiple minor because of the cognate system or cognate program. So if you think about it, it's because of the cognate program, it's easier to add those double majors or minors on to your curriculum because you're already taking 3 courses that are fitting together thematically. Well, it's easy to add 2 more in that theme to get yourself a minors, right? Most minors are about 5 courses big. Most majors are about 9 courses big, 9 to 13, depending on the major. So yeah, you see a lot of students double majoring or minoring. In fact, we just had a woman graduate who was a tour guide in our office who had 2 majors and 3 minors. I think that's on the extreme side, but it is possible.
What percentage of UM is international, and do you know the TOEFL range scores?
About 15% of the students are international at the University of Miami, coming from all over the world. I don't know the exact TOEFL scores, but you can find them right on our website. Yeah, I don't want to misspeak, so I'll direct you to the website.
So this question wasn't asked, but I just thought about it when you said that 15% were international. If assuming that a lot of those will be able to come next year, will UM be to admit more full pay students to replace the internationals that are typically full pay?
We won't be admitting any more students to the fall 2020 class this year, unless something happens between now and August. But we're pretty confident we'll hit our goals for the opening of classes. So we took into account that it's very likely very few international students will be able to get to campus.
Does UM place a higher importance on AP classes over dual enrollment or ACE classes?
No, we look at all of those as the most advanced courses that you can take.
And do you consider honors as challenging of a class in a school that does not offer dual enrollment or ACE?
Yeah, if that's the most advanced level course that you can take in your high school, then that's the most advanced course that you can take. You can't be penalized for not taking an AP if you're not offered that opportunity.
Does the business school have a lower admit rate versus the overall admit? And if a student is not accepted into business, can they be accepted into UM?
So we don't necessarily read by major or school or college. If you're admitted to the university, you're admitted to the university. Now you are applying directly to a major, but we don't have any goals as far as head counts per school or college or per major. Our goal is for the entire first year class. So we admit the qualified students, regardless of major, regardless of school or college. And that being said, no, we will only read your application for the major that you're reading, that you indicated on the application. We won't say you're not qualified for whatever business real estate. Do you want to change your major?
Do dance and architecture require a portfolio or addition?
Architecture is test optional, so you can choose either a portfolio or test scores. You don't need to do both. Our BFA in theater programs does require auditions, as do all of our Frost School of Music applicants will require auditions. And because of that, in the Frost School of Music, it's up to you if you decide to submit your test scores or not.
What percentage of the incoming class was admitted in ED1 and ED2?
About 35% of our class comes in through our early decision programs, and that's about the ceiling we're comfortable with. We don't want to grow anywhere past that.
Can you tell us again what the mid 50% score range was? The slide went by quickly and a couple others.
Sorry. The mid 50% was a 1350 to a 1480 and a 31 to a 34.
Will interviews be used more heavily in lieu of testing if testing can't be submitted?
No, we won't offer interviews, but we will, if we go test optional, we'll add an additional essay.
Is it correct that only children with a family member alum are invited to interview?
No, we don't offer any interviews.
And if you have to go test optional, how is that going to be applied to merit aid?
All merit scholarships will. You don't need test scores to be meritorious in our process.
Can using the ease aid hurt your likelihood of getting in?
No, we don't know about it at time of with your admission process. We're a completely need blind admission process, so we don't have access to any of your financial aid documents.
Do classes like ACE Tourism and IB Business go into the recalculated GPA?
Yes, all advanced level courses like that will go into the recalculated GPA.
And how do you recalculate international GPA?
All international students will need to submit their transcripts to a third-party evaluator, Joseph Silney, Wes, etc., and they will recalculate it and send everything back to us.
What percentage of the UM student body is from out of state?
I mentioned this earlier, about 15% are international, about a quarter are from Florida. So that leaves what, 60% or so from domestic out of state.
Will the university be open at all over the summer for visits?
Your guess is as good as mine. We are abiding by all the public health mandates in Miami-Dade County. As those of you located here in South Florida know, Miami-Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach are slower to open up than the rest of the state here. So we'll see. I will tell you, we have a phased approach to reopen, and we've already made the determination that admission visits will not open until we can safely host 50 or more people in one place.
Given the move to virtual and how some students took to it well and others did not, will UM be making any type of adjustments to how they look at GPAs for the next year's admissions?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have to be flexible with all of this kind of stuff, right? Like, we're all in it together. Our students, went to a pass-fail process if they wanted to for the rest of this semester. I don't know. I mean, I think the name of the game is kind of flexibility and compassion. Judi and Jason and I were talking about that earlier. We still have students on campus who couldn't get home or didn't feel safe going home. And that's kind of how we're approaching it in admission. Yes, maybe test score averages will go down because of the lack of not a good way of saying this right now, but lack of testing. Yes, maybe GPAs will go down because people didn't quite handle Zoom and virtual classes well. I will say though, if there's like a unique thing we need to know about your circumstances, and that that was the reason for the downturn in performance, then you got to let us know that, right? If you have sick people in your family that you're taking care of, if you have just 6 little brothers and sisters running around, like things like this, financial concerns in your family, like things like this are real. And will certainly bleed into how you do in the classroom. So, but we're not mind readers. You need to be able to feel comfortable telling us that.
Additional information on Common App.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't fit into one pretty box on the application, then yeah, always use the additional information section. I will also say, excuse me, I don't know if this is final yet or not, but the last I heard, the Common Application was considering adding a optional COVID-19 specific essay. So it's an essay that's not your personal statement, but an optional essay, that you can tell us how you were impacted, or a story that came out of the COVID-19 pandemic that we're all working together. I would be cautious about making that your main personal essay, right? Because, we have, I don't know how many students are are in high school throughout the United States right now, but literally every high school student is going through the same thing. So it's very possible in our 40,000 applications next year, we could have 40,000 COVID-19 essays to read. So I would be careful about that, just because of the making yourself stand out and unique factor. Now, if there's a real genuine story that you need to tell that directly relates to COVID-19, then do it. But again, I would again plug leaning on your resources here at SCORE at the top or at school to think about that.
Thank you. That was a great answer. If SAT and ACT go to an at-home test, has the university made any decision on whether or not they'll accept it?
We're kind of waiting to see what the process looks like, to be honest with you. We've had some conversations about it. As I've alluded to, we've had conversations about whether or not we even require it next year. So I would hold tight for any official announcement from the university.
And do you guys super score the ACT and or the SAT?
Yeah, we super score both.
Do you know what the admit rate is for the nursing school?
Not particularly for the nursing school, but it would be right around the same average as I forget what it was on the slide. 27% was on the slide. This year is closer to 31, 32%.
I honestly have a ton more questions. I could probably keep you here all night, but I want to be respectful of your time. So I appreciate that. Just say that I'm gonna print out, I'll pull all the questions and we'll kind of organize them together. And if we can email them to you, if you have some time, maybe you can send them back and I can post it as a blog.
Sure.
Just to let everyone know that I heard there was some difficulty in getting to the handout. It wasn't on the control panel for some reason. So I will put a link in our follow-up email that'll go out tomorrow with this. This whole thing was recorded. I will post it to YouTube tomorrow. There'll be a link to that as well. And I know a couple of people were asking about the article you mentioned, or the interview you mentioned, which thankfully you sent it to me. So I will post a link to that as well.
Yeah, it's really good. Check it out. We're lucky to have President Frank at the wheel for this.
And just to let everybody else know, we have had similar conversations. Last night we had the pleasure of hosting UF, and previously we had FSU and UCF. All those have been recorded and are on YouTube. You can find the link to them on our website if you go to scorewebinars.com. And coming up, we have we're having 3 different colleges next week on Wednesday: Vanderbilt, Union, and Indiana University. And you can find the registration for that at scorewebinar.com. And there'll be a link for this in the follow-up email as well. Jay, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. And stay safe and stay healthy. And the same goes to our audience. Thank you all very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Good to talk to you all. No problem. Thank you all.
Stay safe.
You too.